Ethan Varlow sat in his home office, the glow of the laptop screen casting shadows across his tired face. At 32, he'd built a successful architectural firm from the ground up, but tonight he just needed to find Liana's presentation file for tomorrow's meeting. His fingers moved across the trackpad, navigating through folders until he stumbled upon one labeled Private, Do Not Open. His heart began to race. Something whispered that he shouldn't look, but his hand moved on its own, clicking it open. The first video thumbnail made his blood run cold. He recognized their bedroom. He recognized Liana's distinctive blonde wavy hair, her unique features, the delicate fox-like ears that twitched with emotion, the graceful tail that swayed behind her. She was one of the Animari, a subspecies of humans with beautiful animal traits. He'd fallen in love with every part of her. But now, those features he cherished were captured in the most intimate moments with someone else. Ethan's hand trembled as he clicked play. The audio filled the room, Liana's voice breathless and passionate. The man's face came into view, and Ethan's stomach dropped. Vincent Varlow, his father. The man he'd cut from his life 5 years ago after discovering Vincent's manipulative schemes that nearly destroyed Ethan's career. The man who'd called him ungrateful, weak, unworthy of the Varlow name. Ethan watched, paralyzed, as his wife and father moved together on the bed he shared with Liana. Her tail wrapped around Vincent's waist. Her fox ears lay flat against her head in pleasure. The timestamp showed it was from 3 weeks ago, a Tuesday afternoon when Ethan had been at a construction site. There were more videos, dozens of them, months of footage. Ethan slammed the laptop shut, his breath coming in ragged gasps. The room spun around him. 7 years of marriage, 7 years of what he thought was love, loyalty, partnership, all a lie. He looked at the framed photo on his desk, their wedding day, Liana's golden eyes sparkling with joy, her tail wrapped affectionately around his waist. Had she ever loved him, or had this been Vincent's plan all along, the ultimate revenge against the son who dared to defy him?
Ethan waited in the darkness of their living room. The original presentation file sat untouched. He'd found it immediately, before the terrible discovery. That felt like a lifetime ago, though only 3 hours had passed. The front door opened. Liana walked in, her heels clicking on the hardwood floor. Her fox ears perked up, sensing something wrong. "Ethan? Why are you sitting in the dark?" Her voice was sweet, concerned, the same voice that had whispered loving words to Vincent in those videos. "How long?" Ethan's voice was hollow. "What?" Her tail stiffened behind her. "How long?" He turned on the lamp beside him, revealing his face. Tears dried on his cheeks, eyes red and haunted. "With Vincent." Liana's golden eyes widened, her ears flattening against her blonde hair. "Ethan, I found the videos. All of them." His voice cracked. "In our bed, Liana. In our home." She stood frozen, her tail wrapped defensively around her leg. Then something shifted in her expression. The mask fell away, revealing something cold underneath. "He said you'd find out eventually," she said quietly. "Vincent always gets what he wants." "So this was his plan? To seduce my wife?" Ethan stood, his whole body shaking. "It started as that," Liana admitted, her ears still flat. "A year ago, he approached me at that charity gala, remember? You'd gone to take a phone call. He was charming, attentive. He said you'd stolen opportunities from him, that you'd always been ungrateful." "And you believed him?" Liana's tail twitched. "At first I thought it was wrong, but Vincent is persuasive, powerful. He made me feel things you never did. Excitement, danger, desire." Her eyes met his. "You're too safe, Ethan. Too predictable. Too boring." The words hit him like physical blows. Ethan stumbled backward, grabbing the chair for support. "Get out," he whispered. "Ethan?"
"Get out!" His roar startled her, her ears shooting upright. "Pack whatever you can carry and leave now. File for divorce, I don't care. Just get away from me." Liana's expression hardened. Without another word, she walked upstairs. 30 minutes later, she left with 2 suitcases, her tail held high, not looking back. Ethan collapsed onto the couch, finally allowing himself to break completely. The next morning, Ethan called in sick for the first time in 5 years. He sat on his couch, staring at nothing, when his doorbell rang. Aurora Hale stood on his doorstep, her cat-like ears tilted with concern. She was another Anamari, with soft, tabby-patterned ears and a graceful brown tail. Her wavy blonde hair fell over her shoulders, and her amber eyes showed genuine worry. "Ethan?" "Liana called me. She said—" Aurora clutched a paper bag. "I brought pastries. Can I come in?" Ethan wanted to refuse, but something in Aurora's gentle expression broke through his numbness. He stepped aside. Aurora had been Liana's childhood friend, though Ethan always sensed a distance between them. Aurora was quiet, thoughtful, an elementary school teacher who spent her free time volunteering at animal shelters. She rarely came to their house, always seeming uncomfortable around Liana. "She told me what happened," Aurora said softly, setting the bag on the kitchen counter. Her ears drooped with sympathy. "I'm so sorry, Ethan." "Did you know?" The question came out harsher than intended. "No, but—" Aurora's tail curled nervously. "I wasn't surprised. Liana and we grew apart years ago. She changed, became more interested in status, excitement, validation." She looked at him. "You deserved better." Over coffee and pastries Ethan couldn't eat, Aurora listened as he poured out everything: the videos, Vincent's manipulation, Liana's cruel words. Aurora's ears flattened with anger at the betrayal, her tail lashing behind her. "Your father sounds like a monster," she said quietly, "and Liana, I'm ashamed I ever called her friend." "Why did you come?" Ethan asked. Aurora's cheeks flushed slightly. "Because I know what it's like to be hurt by people you trust, and because—" She hesitated. "You always seemed kind, Ethan, even when Liana would dismiss you or make jokes at your expense at parties. You never retaliated. You were patient and good. You deserved kindness today." Something in her words reached through his pain. For the first time since the discovery, Ethan felt a flicker of something other than devastation. Aurora visited every day that week, never pushing, just present. She brought food, listened, or simply sat beside him in comfortable silence, her tail occasionally brushing his arm in gentle reassurance.
3 months passed. Ethan's divorce proceedings were underway. Liana hadn't contested anything, apparently now living openly with Vincent in his penthouse downtown. Ethan had blocked all their attempts at contact, focusing instead on rebuilding himself. Aurora had become his anchor. What started as supportive visits had evolved into deeper friendship. They'd meet for coffee, take long walks through the park, spend evenings watching old movies. Aurora's presence was soothing. Her quiet humor, thoughtful observations, and genuine care slowly helped Ethan remember who he was before the betrayal. One evening, after a particularly good day at work, Ethan invited Aurora to dinner at his place. He'd cooked, nothing fancy, just pasta and wine, but the gesture felt significant. "This is delicious," Aurora said. Her cat ears perked forward with pleasure. Her tail swayed contentedly behind her chair. "I'm glad you like it," Ethan smiled. A real smile, something that had seemed impossible months ago. "Aurora, I wanted to thank you for everything. You didn't have to be there for me, but you were." Aurora's amber eyes softened. "I've admired you for years," she confessed, her ears folding back slightly in vulnerability.
Since the first time Liana introduced us at that gallery opening, you were talking about the architecture of the building, how design could create emotional spaces, and I thought you were the most passionate person I'd ever met." Her tail wrapped around her own waist nervously. "I never said anything because you were married and Liana was my friend, or so I thought. But these months with you, I've fallen in love with you, Ethan, completely." The confession hung in the air. Ethan stood, walking around the table to where Aurora sat. She looked up at him, her amber eyes vulnerable and hopeful. "I've fallen for you too," he admitted, reaching out to gently touch her cheek. "You make me feel valued, seen. You've helped me remember that love isn't supposed to hurt." Aurora stood, and they came together naturally. Their first kiss was tender, hesitant, both of them savoring the gentleness of it. Her hands slid up his chest as his arms wrapped around her waist, careful of her tail. When they parted, both were breathless. "Are you sure?" Aurora whispered. "I don't want to be a rebound." "You're not," Ethan said firmly, taking her hand and leading her to the couch. They sat close, his thumb tracing circles on her palm. Aurora's eyes glistened. "You've always been enough, more than enough." They kissed again, deeper this time. Aurora's cat ears pressed back against her head as his hands threaded through her blonde hair. Her tail wrapped around his leg, pulling him closer. When his lips moved to her neck, she gasped softly, her fingers gripping his shoulders. "Ethan," she breathed, "I want this. I want you." He pulled back slightly, searching her face. "Are you certain?" "I've never been more certain of anything," Aurora smiled, her whole face radiant. "Take me to bed." Ethan lifted her gently, carrying her upstairs, not to the bedroom he'd shared with Liana, but to the guest room he'd converted into his new space. Fresh start, fresh memories. He laid Aurora on the bed, taking his time removing her clothes with reverent care. Her body was beautiful, soft curves, her skin marked with faint tabby stripes along her ribs that matched her ears and tail. She trembled slightly under his touch, not from fear, but anticipation. "You're stunning," he murmured against her collarbone, his hands exploring her tenderly. Aurora arched into him, her tail wrapping around his thigh, her ears twitching with every kiss he placed on her skin. When he finally entered her, they both gasped, the connection, physical and emotional, overwhelming in its intensity. Aurora's amber eyes locked with his as they moved together, her hands cupping his face. "I love you. I love you so much." "I love you too," he replied, meaning it with every fiber of his being. This wasn't about erasing the past, it was about building something genuine and new. They came together, crying out in unison, holding each other through the waves of pleasure. Afterwards, they lay tangled together, Aurora's head on his chest, her tail wrapped around his leg, her purring vibrations soothing against his skin. "Thank you for seeing me," he whispered into her hair. "Thank you for letting me in," Aurora replied, kissing his chest.
6 months later, Ethan stood in his office, reviewing blueprints for his biggest project yet, a community center that would offer free programs for underprivileged families. Aurora had inspired it, showing him that architecture could be about more than aesthetics. It could be about creating spaces for healing and community. His phone buzzed. Vincent's name appeared on the screen. Ethan had blocked him months ago, but his father had somehow found a way through. The text read, "We need to talk. Meet me at the Sterling, 1 hour." Ethan hesitated, then showed the message to Aurora, who'd brought him lunch. Her ears flattened with concern. "You don't have to go," she said, her tail curling protectively. "I think I do," Ethan replied. "I need closure, to face him one last time." Aurora squeezed his hand. "Then I'm coming with you." They arrived at the Sterling together. Vincent sat at a corner table, looking older than Ethan remembered, tired, diminished somehow. Liana was conspicuously absent. "Son," Vincent started, but Ethan raised his hand. "Don't. You lost the right to call me that." Ethan sat down,
Aurora beside him, her presence strengthening him. Why did you do it? Vincent's mask slipped, revealing something bitter underneath. Because you rejected everything I built. The business, the legacy, the Varlo name. You chose your own path and made me look like a failure. He glanced at Aurora, then back to Ethan. I wanted to destroy what you valued most. Did it work? Ethan asked calmly. Did breaking my marriage to Liana give you what you wanted? Vincent's silence was answer enough. You failed, Ethan continued, because in trying to break me, you freed me. I found someone who actually loves me, not for status or excitement or rebellion, but for who I am. He took Aurora's hand. You gave me the greatest gift, showing me what I was settling for. Liana left me, Vincent admitted quietly, moved on to someone wealthier, more influential. Turns out she never cared about either of us, just what we could offer. Aurora's grip tightened on Ethan's hand, but she remained silent, her ears forward with quiet pride. I'm sorry you're alone, Ethan said, standing, but I'm not. I have love, purpose, integrity, everything you tried to take from me. We're done here. Don't contact me again. He walked away with Aurora, feeling lighter than he had in years. Outside, Aurora turned to him, her amber eyes shining. I'm so proud of you. I couldn't have done it without you. Ethan pulled her close, kissing her forehead. You saved me, Aurora. We saved each other, she corrected, her tail wrapping around him affectionately. 3 months later, Ethan proposed to Aurora in the same park where they'd taken countless healing walks together. She said yes immediately, her ears perked high with joy, tears streaming down her face. Their wedding was small and intimate, close friends and chosen family only. As Ethan watched Aurora walk down the aisle, her blonde hair crowned with flowers, her tail swaying nervously with excitement, he marveled at how life had led him here. Vincent's betrayal had been devastating, but it had also been liberation. He'd learned that true love wasn't about passion and excitement. It was about partnership, respect, and the quiet comfort of being fully known and cherished. As Aurora reached him and took his hands, her cat ears tilted forward with pure adoration, Ethan knew he'd finally found home. Ready to build our future? She whispered. With you? Ethan smiled. Absolutely. And for the first time in Ethan Varlo's life, he felt completely, genuinely, perfectly loved.